There's a new wave of AI tools that let you build an entire company where every employee is an AI agent. We're talking full org charts, an AI CEO, an AI CTO, AI engineers, all coordinating autonomously from a dashboard while you sit back and watch. Paperclip is the current poster child for this. It hit 41,000 GitHub stars in about 3 weeks. And I keep seeing people online building these massive AI companies and posting their dashboards everywhere. But after actually digging into what these tools do under the hood and looking at what people are actually producing with them, I think the whole category of tool is fundamentally broken. By the end of this video, you'll understand why organizing AI agents into a human corporate structure makes them objectively worse at their jobs, what academic research actually found when they studied multi-agent failure, and what you should be doing instead if you want AI to actually get things done for you. A quick note before we dive in: if you want to skip the hype cycle and learn AI workflows that actually produce results, I have a $9 community on School. We focus on what works, not what trends on GitHub. The link's in the description. So let me explain what we're actually dealing with here. Tools like Paperclip, Claude Empire, OpenClaw Mission Control, they're all variations on the same idea. They're orchestration layers that let you create teams of AI agents that manage them from a single dashboard. You define roles: CEO, CTO, marketing lead, engineer, and you arrange them in a hierarchy just like a real company. Then you set goals and the agents pass work down the chain. The CEO interprets the goal, hands tasks to the CTO breaks those down into engineering tickets, the engineers execute, and the whole thing runs on what's called a heartbeat, meaning every few minutes agents wake up, check for new instructions and do their thing. Now the dashboards for these tools, especially Paperclip, they look genuinely impressive. You can see what agents are active, monitor their heartbeats, approve new hires to the org chart. Even Paperclip's architecture is well thought out: atomic execution to prevent double work, budget controls, persistent state. But here's the thing: a beautiful dashboard on top of a flawed premise is still a flawed premise. And the premise that AI agents should be organized like a human corporation is where everything falls apart. Think about why human companies use org charts in the first place. We've been structuring businesses that way for over a century. And the reason is simple: it's how humans manage cognitive load. There's a concept called Dunbar's number. There's a limit to how many relationships a single person can effectively manage. So we stack the hierarchy. The CEO manages 5 direct reports, each of them manages 5 more, and so on. But AI doesn't have a Dunbar's number. It doesn't have a cognitive load limit. An AI agent can manage 5 tasks or 500. The constraint is tokens and compute, not mental bandwidth. So when Paperclip asks you to arrange AI agents into a CEO to CTO to engineer pipeline, you're imposing a bottleneck that doesn't need to exist. You're forcing every piece of information through a chain of telephone, from you to the AI CEO, to the AI CTO, to the AI engineer, and anyone who's played telephone knows what happens to the message by the end. If you actually wanted to leverage AI efficiently, you'd do the opposite of an org chart. You'd spin up 50 parallel agents, all working the same task with slightly different approaches. You compare the outputs, pick the best one, and merge the results. That's what AI is good at: massive parallelism. Not hierarchy, not delegation chains, parallelism. But nobody's building that tool because it doesn't look as cool as a dashboard. An org chart with an AI CEO is something you can screenshot and post on X. Now, you don't have to take my word on this. There's actual academic research on multi-agent systems, and the findings are pretty damning. A study updated late 2025 called "Why Do Multi-Agent LLM Systems Fail?" looked at this exact problem, and what they found was that 14 distinct failure modes plague multi-agent setups. 14. But here's the part that should concern anyone using Paperclip: over 60% of these failures happen before coordination even begins. They're specification and design failures. The agents don't understand the task correctly from the start. Let me say that again. The majority of failures in multi-agent systems aren't coordination problems, they're comprehension problems. The AI agents misunderstand the task and then they coordinate perfectly around the wrong objective. Adding more agents, adding more hierarchy, adding a fancier dashboard, none of these fixes a comprehension problem. You're just scaling the misunderstanding. And researchers were pretty explicit that better models won't fix this either. They are structural issues with how multi-agent systems are designed. The fix isn't a better LLM, it's rethinking whether you need multiple agents in the first place. A separate study from Google called "Towards a Science of Scaling Agent Systems" found that multi-agent setups only actually outperform single agents in very narrow conditions, specifically when the task requires sustained interaction with an external environment under partial observability with adaptive feedback loops. If that sounds like your SEO audit or your social media posting schedule, it's not. There's another dimension to this that gets totally ignored in the hype, the cost. When you run a multi-agent setup, each agent typically maintains its own context window. Each agent consumes tokens independently, and every handoff between agents, CEO to CTO, CTO to engineer, requires summarizing the previous work and spinning up a new conversation, burning tokens on coordination instead of output. The data on this is stark. Complex multi-agent systems consume anywhere from 5 to 20 times more tokens than a single agent doing the same work. And on top of the raw token burn, you're paying a coordination tax. Every time an agent needs to summarize its work and hand it to the next agent, information gets lost and tokens get spent on overhead rather than actual output. So you're paying more money for worse results. The dashboard looks amazing, the org chart is satisfying, and you're literally paying a premium for a degraded output. Now here's where I need to be straight with you. The problem isn't unique to Paperclip. Every multi-agent system has the same fundamental issue, including Claude's own agent teams feature. Anthropic's documentation literally says, agent teams add coordination overhead and use significantly more tokens. It's the same architecture, the same telephone game, the same information loss at every handoff. So this isn't a Paperclip bad, Claude good video. That would be dishonest. The argument I'm making is about a principle, not a product. The tighter the feedback loop between you and the AI, the better the results. And these orchestration dashboards, all of them, maximize the distance between you and the work. It doesn't matter if it's Paperclip's org chart, Claude's agent teams, or any other multi-agent setup. Every layer you add between your judgment and the output is a layer where signal gets lost, tokens get burned, and the work drifts towards generic, forgettable output. The issue isn't which tool you use, the issue is how far your voice has to travel before it reaches the thing that's actually doing work. So what should you actually do? And I know this is going to sound anticlimactic, but here it is. Use one AI session with a tight feedback loop. Open any AI tool, give it context, give it direction, see what comes back. React to it, push back, iterate. That's it, the whole workflow. The reason this works better than any army of agents is that you are in the loop. You're catching the misunderstandings in real time. You're applying judgment at every step. Half the direction you gave on the third iteration is something you never could have anticipated at the start. It's reactive, it's intuitive, it's based on looking at the output and going, no, not like that, like this. These orchestration platforms take you out of the loop. The whole pitch is that they run autonomously while you step away. But stepping away is exactly the problem. Every iteration without human feedback is an iteration towards generic, average, forgettable output. What people are fondly calling AI slop. And if you genuinely need parallelism, if you have 20 independent tasks that don't depend on each other, most AI tools already have sub-agents or parallel processing built in. You don't need an orchestration platform for that. You don't need a CEO agent. You just need a clear prompt and a willingness to stay engaged with the output. Now, the obvious pushback to everything I just said is, sure, but this is temporary. AI will get better and eventually we won't need to babysit it. And honestly, that's a fair question. So let me give you an honest answer. Right now, even the best AI systems score 0.37% on the ARC AGI 3. That's a benchmark specifically designed to test the kind of novel reasoning you need for autonomous work. Humans are basically at 100%. That's not a gap that closes with the next model update, that's a chasm. And here's the math that should sober you up about autonomous agents. If an AI is 85% accurate on each individual action, which is pretty good, and your workflow has 10 steps in the sequence, you're at about a 20% chance of the whole thing completing correctly. That's why Anthropic's own research shows 73% of real-world AI tool usage still has a human in the loop, and experienced users actually interrupt the AI more often, not less. Now, are there places where autonomous AI agents work right now? Yeah. Fraud detection systems running at 96% accuracy, manufacturing quality control with documented ROI. But notice the pattern. Those are narrow, well-defined, repetitive tasks with clear success metrics, not build me a company. I think the honest trajectory looks more like self-driving cars than a light switch. We won't wake up one day and AI suddenly runs everything. We'll gradually move humans from doing the work to supervising the work to handling the exceptions. And that transition is measured in years, not months, regardless of what anyone's fundraising deck says. So will we always need a human? At least for the foreseeable future in some form, yes. At least for anything that requires judgment, taste, or adapting to something genuinely new. The question isn't whether humans stay in the loop, it's how tight or loose that loop gets over time. So here's what I'll leave you with. The next time you see someone posting about their incredible Paperclip setup, their AI company with 30 agents running autonomously, I want you to look at what they actually produced. Not the dashboard, not the org chart, not the number of agents running. Look at the output. Look at what actually shipped. Look at what a customer or a viewer or a reader would actually see and interact with. Because in almost every case I've looked at, the answer is nothing. The setup is the product, the dashboard is the deliverable, the agents are busy, the heartbeats are green, and nothing of value has been created. Activity is not output, and a really well-designed dashboard showing lots of activity is the most convincing way I've ever seen to disguise zero output as productivity. Look, I'm not saying that multi-agent AI systems can never be useful. There's a narrow category of repetitive, well-defined tasks where it already works. But the way people are using Paperclip right now, building entire AI companies from scratch and expecting the agents to figure it out, that's not it. That's not even close, and it won't be for a while. If you want to learn how to actually use AI tools effectively, no hype, no dashboards, just results, the AI Creator Lab community is where we do that. It's just $9 to join to stay ahead with AI. The link's in the description. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've actually shipped something real with any of these agent platforms, I'd genuinely love to hear about it. But until I see it, I'm calling this what I see. I'll see you in the next one.